I want to introduce Alberto Vasquez, who we all call Betto, just Betto. He's like one of the few people in the world that you can just call by his first name, so it's Betto. Betto has quite a success story, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about what he's done, but I can tell you from his experience here at City College, it's been quite an amazing journey, and he started here as a biology major. He ended up being the president of the student body. He was the keynote speaker for graduation, and he proposed to his wife during that commencement speech, which was awesome. Yeah, it was totally cool. Yes, give it up for him. He's got a soft side, he really does. He then went on to UC San Diego, got his bachelor's degree, and he's going to be finishing up his master's degree in biology this spring. And I'm just so thrilled and proud of what he's done in his journey. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Betto, to explain your experience and some of your past and how you got here.
Cool. Thank you very much. Son. Thank you very much. How's everyone doing? Pretty good? Well, we're really excited about having you. I know I am. Here, talking about one's history, I'll personalize it. Talking about myself hasn't always been so easy, in getting butt naked with people in conversation, as we would say. But it's something that I've grown to learn. Helps me to become passionate and engaged. It definitely increased my sense of belonging and my validation along the way. Which is something that I feel a lot of folks having come from an ex-offender population constantly deal with, and for myself growing up, it wasn't, I won't take too long because I do want to give, adequate time to everybody because I know there's a lot of questions out there as well, but growing up wasn't too easy, I can tell you, play the same tape that a lot of other folks will play for you, neighborhood was rough, fatherless home, substance abuse issues growing up, exposure to things I probably shouldn't seen when I was young. To top it off, I was asked to leave by my mom at an early age. I had a stepfather, so there was that dynamic you had to factor into it, and all the slew of emotions that came with that, right? The barrage of emotion that came with that we don't talk about too much. So there was that, that being homeless, and while everybody else was having to deal with what they were going to wear the next day or how they were going to get at baby girl. I had to worry about where I was going to be safe at night and what I was going to get to eat for that day. And so you learn to become a hustler, and so that's one thing now that I get to embrace, because that hustle doesn't have to go away. I don't have to trade in who I grew up understanding myself to be for something else, but I can embrace it and incorporate that. I stayed on the street for a long time, since I was 15, started doing time in the juvenile system. Shortly thereafter, got out, and I was sharing earlier with the group, I was so good at doing all the bad stuff that I did that I ended up, doing time as an adult. Well, I guess I wasn't that good, right, because I kept getting caught, but that's besides the point. So, county jail, graduated from county jail, doing prison time, and I spent more than half of my 20s in prison, and if you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, I was going to go to college and meet Jay or graduate or be up here with these folks, I probably would have laughed it off, and thought you were crazy. But I decided to try something new when I got out this last time in this last term in 2007, and I came straight to a program which I had never tried before, and I had signed up before I got out. I had submitted my financial aid application, and so when I got out, I had somewhat of a plan. I got here to City College, went through the motions of feeling inadequate and ashamed of everything that that I had gone through in life, and I just decided to show up. I mean, I tell people half the time, it's just show up. That's all you got to do. You'll figure it out as you go. So I showed up, and lo and behold, I started getting involved here in clubs, student government. I never thought that was going to happen either. I never thought I was going to get married. Ended up graduating. You know what? And I'll tell you this. I've graduated from UCSD as well, and I'll tell you the same feelings always resurfaced, even in my graduate program of when I started here at community college. But the one thing that I remember the most, for me, that was the most impactful in my life, was when I got to walk across the stage at the community college graduation. The reason that is, and I still get a little bit emotional about it, right? But the reason that is because when I got to community college, I was given my life back. Not only was I given my life back, but I was allowed the opportunity to dream, and to reach higher for goals. Because I remember when I was 16 feeling like this was it for the rest of my life. I'm going to be doing time or getting in trouble, ending up like such and such, and just conform to all those things, all those negative reinforcements that you hear growing up when you're not the ideal kid, right? And so I remember, it's deeply ingrained in my heart, and community college for me really changed the trajectory for the rest of my life. I never thought I was going to go to UCSD. Nonetheless, even as a biology major or get into a graduate program. But you know what? The hustle doesn't stop. I tell folks, with the same zeal that I used to use when I was out there using, and I would go, to hook up and re-up somewhere, and they didn't have nothing, and that didn't keep me from doing what I had to do that day. I had other places I would go and seek out what I was looking for. And it's that same zeal and that same fervor that now helps me to still balance work and balance school and the 4 kids that I have. And so I'm really thankful for that. And so I think I've allotted my time there, but that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a fantastic testimonial, Betto, and I so appreciate you being forthright and honest about all of that. You talked about validation. You indicated you had self-esteem problems and things like that. We had Tyrone Howard, Dr. Howard, here on the campus, and he's from UCLA and has studied a lot of these things. And he brought up this whole issue called imposter syndrome. And you basically say to yourself, I don't belong here. There's no way I'm going to be found out. There's no way that I should be here. And you keep bringing this stuff up, and it comes up over and over and over again, this imposter syndrome, that you don't somehow belong here, and that because of low self-esteem or your past or whatever, you realize that for some reason you shouldn't be here. But obviously you've overcome that, and you're on your way, and things are good. I want to be able to give the other 2 panelists up here a chance to describe some of what they've experienced in their background. Shereice, do you want to give a little bit about your history and your background? San Diego person, mother and father in education, and I think it's important for you to share kind of where you've come from with all of this.
Definitely, thank you. My name is Shereice, and I want to start off with a little bit of some extra statistics. I am a minority, not just because I'm a woman, and definitely not because I'm white and live in Southern California. I am the highest growing statistic. I am a female being incarcerated over and over, and we are the largest population that is growing in prison today. I recently got out after serving a little over 20 years for a murder where I was not the trigger person. I was arrested when I was 18 years old. Both of my parents are retired educators. They're amazing people. If nothing in life, I was gonna have that education. However, while I was educating myself at 18 years old, I was also arrested and sent to prison for a 15 to life sentence, plus 1 for a handgun. So in that, there was devastation in the community, and I get to bear the brunt of that. I am an only child in a family that I have recently come home to that did every second of that time with me. I am living at home with 2 retired, amazing educators who have welcomed me and stood by me the entire time. Their devastation turned my life into their life. My life stopped being about me a long time ago. And in that, I have the opportunity to give back. When I paroled in March 6th of this year, I paroled to LA County because there are resources there. I could have come home, but come home to what? So in paroling, I find out and hook up with people from ARC like Scott Budnick. The Anti-Recidivism Coalition is an amazing group of people, and I worked with LA Parole hand in hand, starting a female prison re-entry project. Who does that? I haven't been out of the CDCR, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation System, for over 365 days, yet I went back into the prison at CIW, California Institution for Women in Corona, a month and a half ago. to start a project that I'm working with LA Parole on, living in San Diego. San Diego should be helping this happen, encouraging people to do this. Let me be a catalyst. Let me help the people who need the help because I'm willing. Not only am I willing, but when you speak of expertise, who better than who's experienced it? I can complain, I can tell you what's broken, but why not talk to me because I have a solution? Because I see what was broken and I actually have input on solution. Because those things are important. Because I may have somewhat of an education. If nothing else, I have the gumption to speak up for myself. And in being that minority, I have a foot in the door. I have people who love and support me without knowing me, who want to get to know me because of what I've been through. I just said before I came out here, I was really looking forward to a day in my life where I could walk into a room and not have to introduce myself as, hi, my name's Shereice, and I just got out of prison after doing 20 years. But you know what? That's why you're listening tonight. Those words, those few simple words, shock. And that shock value is what is meaningful, because if I were walking down the street, you would not know. And let me also have a disclaimer on the fact that while I was inside, I was educated as well. I am a certified drug and alcohol counselor. The Navy came in and did that. UCSD came in and did that. They traveled to Central California and educated a group of women, the first group of women to be afforded a KDAC, which is hoity-toity drug and alcohol counseling letters. So to get that opportunity, to be afforded that, there are 50 positions that are available statewide, and the warden of the prison that I was at fought to get 25 for women. Everybody who took that test passed, and they went back and tried to recheck those answers because maybe we cheated. Because there's a 75% pass rate. We are hungry inside. Things to do are important. Education is amazing. And the only reason that everybody that passed that test and took that program with me and is a certified counselor, the only reason that not everybody is out is because not all of their time is finished yet. But 85% of those women have paroled, and the majority of us were serving life sentences. We make a difference no matter where we are. I made the world a better place because I helped to educate people inside. I have the opportunity to do that out here because that's a passion of mine from birth. It's been afforded to me. This is an opportunity. This is a gift. This is something that I want to share, that has been shared with me. I was recently admonished at the parole office that I report to for helping another parolee. I have no idea what the guy did. I don't care. He was homeless. He was living for the last 3 days while he had been paroled, he was living at a trolley station in El Cajon, and he had no place to go. I am help-minded. ARC has helped me to continue that. And I simply got on a telephone and called a number that was in the parole office and asked if he could be housed somewhere. And when the parole officer came out to say, who just made that phone call? I said, well, I did. I was told not to help somebody.
It's in your DNA.
If that hadn't been afforded to me, if somebody hadn't helped me, why would I not? I said I was a concerned citizen on the phone because that's what I am. Concerned. Concerned that maybe I can make a difference and I'm not allowed. Concerned that more people can make a difference and they haven't.
you'll be able to help us at City College, okay, Shereice?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thank you for that. We really appreciate it. Yeah, give it up. I've just met her, but I can tell, from our discussion backstage and what you've said out here that, helping is in your DNA. You are looking to help people be successful, and I think that you've helped people right here just in the words that you've shared with us today, so I really appreciate that. I want to have Jay give a little bit of a description of your experience and kind of your journey. Interestingly, these two met in school and ended up becoming kind of a support network for each other, which I think is interesting. And Jay, I'm going to turn it over to you to explain your story and kind of your background and history.
Yeah, so...
Got to talk real close to it.
Yeah, so I met Betto at UC San Diego. That's where I am now. But originally, I grew up in inner city LA, like a lot of kids there, single parent household, not a lot of money, same story. Biggest gangs in the nation, those are my friends, My mom sent me to a Catholic school, only Catholic school she could afford to send me to. Tried to do something, and in 5th grade, I committed my first crime. Could have caught, I don't know how long they give for that type of crime, but over a decade. And I continued to make mistakes for about that long, about a decade, until my 23rd birthday when I was finally convicted. At that point, I had some thinking to do. And I beat the amount of years they were giving me. I reduced it from over 12 to like a year or something like that, because I had a lawyer, because I didn't allow the system to fail me. But before that, the system failed me. I took algebra, let's say, for example, 4 times, passed it with an A. When I went from Catholic school to public school, I couldn't take it because I was on the wrong track due to overcrowding. I was labeled gifted in science and math, so they got the extra money, but that wasn't something I was allowed. I still made it through, still made it to UCST, but I don't know what would have happened if I would have gotten my first chance. So I met my friends, people who related, gangsters, people who affiliate with them, and learned a lot of bad things. Those are the things that I was exposed to. And so now what I do is, now that I've grown, reflected, and have put myself where I am, I try to give back. And that's what I do with ARC. That's why it's necessary to have programs like this, because I know what the struggle and the growth is like, and people who are coming to that bridge, kind of crossing that, they need people to be able to explain it the way that they understand it, because people who don't relate can't. And so that's how I do my part. I now am majoring in environmental chemistry and biochemistry at UCST.
What the heck is biochemistry? What does that even mean? Don't answer that.
So yeah, I probably would try, but it's not something that I ever saw for myself. Not something I ever believed was possible, and well, it is, and that's what I'm here to show, that there is something that people can do to help others. Now, what was it that helped me? Well, it was security, just having somewhere to stay, having the finances to be able to get through school. Now, I won't go into too many details about how I was able to secure that. I wish I had a program, but I actually became affiliated with ARC later, after I had started my education. And well, the people that I met that affiliated me with them did go through the program. And I saw how great it was. I, like many of the people who first come in there, thought it was almost too great to be true. People walk in and can't hug each other, have a lot of issues that they have to deal with, and I understand that, where a lot of people don't. And so that's my part here, is I want to make people like me, but really I want to make them better.
Thank you, Jay. Really appreciate that. Awesome. Yes, give it up. So I want to shift gears now, and I want to kind of get into this in some depth in terms of I want to talk to Scott here for a minute and ask you, Scott, having been involved with this for 12 years, you say, what are some things that you have learned that we could do here in San Diego, working together to reduce recidivism? I mean, just talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing is, we in Los Angeles, and by the way, there's a lot of things that San Diego is doing very right. When our youth are getting out of the state juvenile system, San Diego is one of the only counties that actually invests and pays for them to go into transitional housing for the first 3 to 6 months to get them on their feet. And it's shown to pay huge dividends in lives that have been turned around, as well as public safety. So San Diego, in that regard, is really paving the way.
So what do you mean by paying? We're paying the way, we're paying the housing, we're giving them money?
Yeah. Probation is actually funding them for 3 to 6 months of transitional housing. But what we've found is we have a 71% recidivism rate statewide for this 18 to 25-year-old population, because we've had the brilliant idea for the last 100 years that when someone comes home, we are going to force them to go right back to the same household, the exact same block, where dysfunction may still exist, where the old homies may still kick it. And we're huge about serving the community and having people give back. It's kind of the last prong of what we do. But sometimes going back and living there as soon as you walk out of juvenile hall or a camp or prison is not always the recipe for success. And so we have, in Los Angeles, started a supportive housing program where one of our county supervisors gave us $500,000 to do a pilot. And we ended up master leasing an apartment building, and just like the president here, we had a landlord, believe it or not, we had a landlord who just built this beautiful building, and when we said we want to house 24 formerly incarcerated men and women there, he actually said yes. In fact, at first I said I want to house some students there, and then I said foster care, and then I went all the way to say formerly incarcerated. I eased him into that conversation. But for the last year and a half, we have had a supportive housing program where directly across the street from the community college, we have 24 men and women, boys and girls living together, going to school together, working together. We have it staffed with a program manager, a resident advisor that lives there 24/7, life skills staff, so the second somebody moves in, we take them to get their driver's license, help them with their resume, show them how to apply online, take them around to local businesses that have committed to hiring our folks, walk them onto the community college campus, show them where the financial aid office is, show them where admissions is, show them how to fill out their FAFSA form, and teach them to fish so that they can teach the next person.
Fantastic. That's what it's all about right there.
And we've been doing it. We've had 31 residents over the last year and a half. And out of the 31 residents, we've had one person arrested for a misdemeanor vandalism, which is 2.5% recidivism in the first year and a half compared to 71% in a full year statewide. So we've seen the combination of how the ARC members that live together support one another, that there's a built-in peer support network. So if you see one guy starting to fall off, starting to drink, starting to smoke weed, whatever you see those signs are, oftentimes our staff don't have to get involved because it's his own roommates or peers that says, hey, let's go to the gym, let's do this, let's get a better program, let's knock it off and focus.
That is so true.
So that peer support group has been huge. We've also seen the connection to the community college because we provide all those services and have all the staff we mentioned, but as soon as they walk across the street, you have more mentors, more counselors, more tutors, and you have that entire aura of the community college campus where you're now surrounded by a bunch of students who are on the pathway up and not this pathway down. And we've just seen it to be so incredibly successful. We're almost, I think out of our current 24 residents, 22 are employed. All are either in school and working. I think we've had 176 units completed in the first year. 3 people have transferred to a 4-year university from community college in the first year and a half. One who spent 23 years in prison is following Profit's route and just transferred to Cal State Northridge to major in mechanical engineering. So not only have there been millions of dollars saved from people who have not recidivated back into a very expensive system? But now imagine that over a lifetime, when you stop someone at 17, 18, 19 years old and put them on a better path. How much human savings do you have over the lifetime? How much fiscal savings do you have over the lifetime? How much reduced victimization do you have in the community? And now they're a role model to their cousins and their nephews who once said, no one in our family has graduated college. And now someone in your family is graduating to major in mechanical engineering, or is a firefighter, or is a community college student. So you can't even measure the effect it has on the rest of the family and on the rest of the community. So the investment you make at this age, and let me tell you, this is all hands on deck. We have a close partnership with the police department. We even wrote a bill with the DA's office. And I always said, oh, the DAs are the problem, the DAs are the problem. And in a huge way, the DAs are the problem. But we wrote a bill with them because the DAs didn't want to send young people into prison to be surrounded by gang members. They wanted to write a bill with us to send them into college programs and vocational programs and self-help programs. On SB 261, which we just passed this year, that affects 14,000 people in prison, one of our co-sponsors were the California police chiefs. Our partners were the California sheriffs. The California prison guards went neutral and didn't oppose the bill. So this is, as you begin to show the stories of success from Betto and Shereice and Jay and many others, people start to come on board. People, trust me, it's much better to be surrounded by these types of stories than to just see the nonstop destruction that many people on the front lines keep seeing. And once people see that this investment begins to pay off in every way possible, a lot begins to change. And again, the momentum that we have now nationwide, the president visits a prison, the Pope visits a prison, the Koch brothers are visiting prisons. We've never seen anything like this since we've been alive. So I think the time is now for San Diego, and we look forward to being down here and partnering with all the incredible organizations that are doing game-changing work. Chris Yanov in the front row, Reality Changers, who are sending young kids from inner-city communities to four-year universities, Second Chance, and many others. So what's going on down here is dynamic. The winds of change are blowing, and it's just very excited to be in the room with all you guys.
Yes, it's a movement. It's a movement. It really is. So I want to ask Betto, Shereice, and Jay this question. Go back to the day that you were released, and what was that like? Just concisely, I want you to describe what that was like. What kind of support did you get? What was the situation in that day? I mean, be concise about it, because I want to be able to have some other time here.
It was overwhelming.
Well, not that concise.
Longer. You want a long answer? Okay. So it was really interesting. The previous times, because of the recidivism, right? The previous times, it was always it was mixed feelings, right? It was exciting, but it was scary because you didn't know where you were going to stay. All the pads that all the places I would stay were like dope spots and just kind of like not the best environment to try to stay clean in and do right. This last time, ironically, it was the first time I went to a program, and I was excited, but I wasn't, because I got picked up from the gate. I got taken to the airport. When I landed in San Diego, there was a guy there with my name on the sign, waiting to take me straight to the program. So I didn't get my 3-day window. I always tell guys that I work with that are getting out, say, the first 3 days are magical for you, right? You go visit your significant other, you go get a carne asada burrito, and then by the third day, kind of reality sinks in, right? What the hell am I going to do now? And so for me, this last time, it was really interesting because I was uncomfortable, I was scared, and I didn't know what the hell was going to happen next. But I've come to learn that that's not necessarily a bad thing. I tell people to embrace discomfort, because that means that there's going to be growth following right after that. Because that's only when you grow is when you're out of your element, when you're trying something new, then you're going to get new results. So.
So they give you clothes? They give you money? Do they give you anything? What they?
No, I
old clothes?
paroled. People for I don't know, and maybe Scott can talk about this, but they've been giving out $200 for forever, right? And it doesn't matter which way the economy goes. They think $200 is going to do it for you after doing years in prison, right? So I got my measly $200, and whatever I had in a brown bag was to my name. And and that was it. And so you just, what the hustle. We were talking to Shereice earlier, and I was, we were kidding around, but I was telling her, hey, we've done worse things for a brown paper bag and to get out of the cell, and so, I mean, that's just the mentality. I work with whatever little I have, and you learn to maximize things.
Shereice, will you describe your story?
Yes, so as soon as I walked out of these Sally Port gates open, gates close, I didn't feel safe. All of my safety was behind me, which is so strange because prisons don't seem safe. And then I walked into these loving arms of somebody that I'd known who was working at a transitional home. And unfortunately, most transitional homes are drug and alcohol related. Well, I happen to have spent the last 5 years of my incarceration teaching all of their curriculum, and I get to come out and now be a student in their curriculum. Wasn't the best experience. However, going into this place in Los Angeles, a place that I was unfamiliar with, having grown up in North County, San Diego, was an amazing opportunity. I got the ability to get lost on a bus for 3 hours and almost cry and think, oh my God, no, don't get mugged, just stop crying. And I got to grow from that. And I have very little fear at this point because of things like that. So getting that opportunity and then having somebody go with me to a store and explaining that in this 3-story Walmart, which I didn't see one wall in, that this escalator is for your shopping cart and this one is for your person. Like, I needed that. I went in when we had pagers, and now I have an iPhone that I still don't know how to use.
That's gotta be weird.
So there's a lot of change and there's a lot of learning, and if nothing in life, I'm a perpetual student, so I'm willing to learn everything. Life is amazing. The things that I went through, I would not trade for who I am today, because I'm proud of who I am today. I'm an amazing human being, not because of what I went through, but because of who I am. And keeping that in perspective is difficult sometimes out here with the overwhelming amount of walls.
Well said. Okay, so Jay, I want to ask you the same question. I want to get back to Scott here about some things that we can do in San Diego to improve the situation here. So your first day out, what was that like? What'd they give you? How'd they encourage you? Any of that?
So my first day out may have been a little different because I got my conviction and I was actively fighting my case, and so I was transferred back to the city jail. So I didn't collect my $200, I didn't pass go. But I gained years of my life, so that wasn't too bad. But I was released, like 11 p.m. or something like that, so I had to go walk from the Twin Towers jail, which is north downtown LA towards South Central. So that was a little bit of an experience, walk all the crackheads.
11 p.m.
Yeah, it was around that time.
You know what I'd like to know from you? It's like, for going from like prison and jail to biochemistry is like so crazy. It's like, what's the moment or what happened in your life or what incentivized change?
There was, during my first quarter at LA City College, there was a professor there. He saw something in me and repeatedly just asked me to apply to a program that I never thought I would get into. And I guess my first summer after community college, I started doing research at Cal State LA, and then that led toward another research internship at Cedars-Sinai, one of the biggest hospitals in the U.S. Now I'm at UCSD. So it just took one person, really, to keep it simple.
Scott, do you have any comment about what we can do to make things better and how we can support these folks better, just in general with some of this?
I mean, I need to fly up here for a second because there's a, I think the biggest question, and I think we're beyond this, but I think it's worth mentioning, is I took this trip to Rwanda and then I took a trip to Germany and went to like 5 prisons in each place. God bless my girlfriend Serena in the front row, who has to like go on trips with me where I'm going into prisons, 5 prisons in a week.
We need to give it up for her right here. Let's do it right now.
But you go to Africa, and they've built this system after a genocide, after 800,000 people were brutally murdered. They've built a system around reconciliation and restorative justice where the victims drive the process. And you ask the victims of the genocide, like, don't you have hatred for this person who was involved in the murder of your loved one? And they say, no, me being engaged in his treatment or incarceration has been the most healing thing for me. And that these are our brothers and sisters. These are Rwandans. They're part of us. And they see the people in prison as part of them. And not to hammer the racial part of this too much, but the community is black and the prisoners are black. So it's very easy to see folks incarcerated as one of us. You go to Germany and you see a system where the prisoners are mostly white and the country's mostly white. And the entire system is set up, the first line in the German Constitution is the purpose of prison is resocialization and rehabilitation. And then it goes on to say that prison should never be punishment, that punishment is simply the loss of freedom. That's punishment enough. The whole purpose of our system is to make sure this person who is definitely coming home to be our neighbor, to make them a better person. And they see their inmates as part of them. And then we get to California, and the first line in our penal code is the purpose of prison is punishment. And we have people in prison who are mostly brown and black. And we know what most of our society looks like. So how do we get to a point where we can look at the people on this stage and the people that are still inside that have the potential to exceed these folks on the stage and say, these are part of us. These are Californians. 95% of them are coming home to be our neighbors. And we do not accept this 66% recidivism rate. We need to make sure they come home a better person, a more educated person, a more moral person, and we need to invest in that because that makes us healthier, that makes us more prosperous, and that makes us safer.
Okay, give it up for Scott on that. Beautiful, really beautifully said.